Welcome back to another episode of Tea Time with Lady T. For the month of July, our conversations will be centered around the lessons behind my story. So let's begin. I failed when I couldn't shut off the noise. The noise of being who everyone else wanted me to be. The noise of not being thin and understanding that beauty is not so much about how you think and behave, but it's about how you look. The noise of not feeling good enough to be loved. The noise of the events that traumatized me. The noise of living with no peace, always worrying about what comes next. The noise of comparing myself to others. The noise of not being rescued when I felt lost. Before the failure, I was in college, making good grades, with a great circle of friends and a boyfriend with a car, which was very important because I didn't have one. I had freedom, the freedom I never had. I thought I had it all under control until I was afraid to go to sleep at night. And I couldn't decipher from what was real or a dream. I could not speak about this and definitely couldn't explain it to those around me. All I could do was scream, cry, and panic. Nights, they were rough. But some say God works in mysterious ways. Let me tell you how. What I now call the failure at being me brought me into a re-established relationship with God. In that place of brokenness, unable to turn down the noise, screaming and crying at night, is where I first met God for myself. I realized now that God needed to speak to me, so he shut down my mind, and I had no other choice but to pay attention. Now, the response to the crisis was meds, rest, talking to professionals, and being taken out of school. The narrative became she's overwhelmed and misses home. So, removed from school, my happy place where I could be me, away from the friends who really knew me for one semester and a summer, to living under the weight of assumptions, the stories people created about me, and the judgment that followed. Now here comes those mysterious ways again. He sent me an angel in the form of a nanny or a babysitter who I know was not just for the infant. She was there for me too. I don't remember her name. We never spoke in the beginning. She sat outside my room and prayed. I thought she was insane. Long story short, not only did she pray, she started reading scripture. And all I could do was listen. And one day, I decided to try it for myself, but not the typical prayers I learned in school and in church. It was a dark and rainy night, wrestling again with the fear that kept me in a panic and up all night. I prayed, if you are real, I need to feel you. I felt a hand on my shoulder. That weight on my shoulder from that hand, it gave me peace that surpassed my understanding. And at that moment, I knew God was real. Now, the change wasn't instant. I have to be honest and say there were things I had to work through. But know that eventually I made it to the place where I rejected the judgment and the assumptions that had me under their control and learned I was never beyond God's reach. And I said all of that to say this. The circumstances of my life forced me to rethink how I view failure. Because that failure at being the Tiana everyone else wanted me to be brought me to the place of surrendering to a God who was indeed real. Real because he found me when I needed him the most. So the T for this Tuesday is, now unto him that is able to keep you from falling and to present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy. That's taken from Jude, the first chapter, verse 24. Failure is an option that is always attached to surrender. Surrendering gives us the flexibility needed to bend to his will. Now, I failed in doing life the way I thought, and in some cases, the way others thought it should be. And that was a good thing, and still is. So in my reflective mode, I'm thinking, failure not only means you didn't get it right, it also means you have another chance to get it right. It's all about how you look at it. I'm learning living a full life is not meant to be exhausting. Failure is the option for those of us who are tired of just holding on. Don't your fingers get hurt from hanging on with all that weight? Let whatever your is, let it go. I promise you, his big arms will catch you. He promises never to let us fall. We serve a God who will hold us up with all of our weight. And you know what? He's so strong. He's strong enough to carry it for us. And while he's holding on to us and our junk, he will also clean us up. He repurposes our dirt, straightens out our entanglements, and sprinkle us with his joy. And he is ever so happy and eager to do it over and over and over again. We're never too much for God. That's the kind of God he is. One who will keep us when we don't even recognize we need to be kept. So the story behind the lesson of failure is to surrender. Stop fighting. Go ahead and throw in the towel. You are outmatched with God. Failure is winning when it's attached to a perfect God who will see you through. He did it for me. And I know he'll do it for you. Come back next Tuesday for another episode of Tea Time with Lady T. Throughout the month of July, I'll be sharing the lessons behind my story and the journey that led me to write lessons of healing and hope. I think you'll begin to understand why this book had to be written. And if you've been walking with me through the month of June, this season of empty nesting, the one that I'm currently in, don't worry, that journey is still unfolding in real time. We're just taking a look at some of the life lessons God used to prepare me for this season right now. Until next time, and remember, we are still sipping tea, minding our business, and having the conversations that matter. See you next time. Bye-bye.